Bangladesh has fallen. With statues of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the father of the nation, also known as Bangabandhu, being vandalized and destroyed all across the country. Unprecedented scenes of violence, arson and chaos have been coming out of Bangladesh. The former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, resigned and fled the country and has been in a safe house in India amidst mass unrest in Bangladesh. An interim government has been formed with the army's support. But a big political vacuum has been created, leading to anarchy in the country. And attacks on religious minorities, especially Hindus. But what really led to this? Is the student protest the only reason, or there is a bigger conspiracy behind all this? And what's the implication of this volatile situation in the neighborhood on India? Let's analyze all this in detail. Hello guys, I am Saurav and welcome to the Arc. In July this year, the Supreme Court of Bangladesh reinstated a controversial quota for top government jobs, reserved for the descendants of freedom fighters who fought in the 1971 Liberation War. The decision led to massive protest across the country, led by students. Comments made by former PM Sheikh Hasina aggravated the matter further. She asked, if jobs are not reserved for the freedom fighters, then should it be reserved for the children of Razakars?
মুক্তিযোদ্ধাদের নাতিপুতিরাও পাবে না, তাহলে কি রাজাকারের নাতিপুতিরা পাবে? সেটা আমার প্রশ্ন, দেশবাসীর কাছে প্রশ্ন, যে রাজাকারের নাতিপুতিরা সবকিছু পাবে, মুক্তিযোদ্ধারা পাবে না।
Razakar is a derogatory term applied to the Bengali collaborators of Pakistan in 1971. This infuriated the protesters further, and violence erupted all across the country. Things went south on July 15th, when the supporters of Hasina's Awami League clashed with the students. The opposition Bangladesh National Party and Jamaat-e-Islami were also quick to join the movement, which further exacerbated the violence. Nationwide curfews were imposed, and army was given shoot-at-sight orders, leaving hundreds of dead and injured. Though the Supreme Court later modified its ruling, reducing the quota from 30 to 5%, it was too little, too late. The protest quickly took the shape of anti-Hasina, anti-Awami League political protest, accusing them of electoral manipulation, corruption, and use of excessive force against the protesters. The sole demand of protesters was ousting of Sheikh Hasina and the Awami League government. Nothing less. With protests turning more and more violent, safety became a huge concern for Sheikh Hasina. On 5th August, she decided to resign and flee to safety. As per reports, she first came to Agartala in India in a chopper. And from there, she came to Indian Air Force's Hindan Air Base in Ghaziabad near Delhi, and has been currently in a safe house trying to figure out her next course of action. But what really went wrong? On 15th August 1975, except for Hasina's husband, children and sister Sheikh Rihana, her entire family was murdered, which saw the assassination of her father, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Hasina lived in exile in India for 6 years and returned to Bangladesh in 1981. After her return to Bangladesh, she has been the key figure in the country's politics and was ruling the country since 2009 as the longest serving Prime Minister of Bangladesh. But her long rule has been a mixed bag. On the economic front, it was a huge success story in terms of building infrastructure, providing electricity to remote villages, building highways, railway lines and ports, etc. During her tenure, textile industry in Bangladesh flourished and exports surged. Bangladesh monthly apparel export was around $3.5 to $3.8 billion. Country's average GDP growth rate remained 6.6% over the last decade, and its poverty decreased from 12% in 2008 to over 5% in 2022. its GDP increased from 100 billion in 2009 to 460 billion in 2022. Bangladesh GDP per capita reached $2,730 in 2022, briefly overtaking India. However, in terms of governance, she has been accused of being autocratic. There are allegations of massive corruption and nepotism charges on her. There are charges of her jailing individuals who oppose her. She has also been accused of electoral manipulations, and public anger against her has been brewing since January 2024. But is it only public anger and protests that led to this situation, or there are bigger players orchestrating all this? There are multiple conspiracy theories behind Sheikh Hasina's ousting. Some suggest it was the China-Pakistan nexus that wanted Hasina out, and some others are saying it's the US that plotted this regime change operation, as they have done so in so many countries in the past. At this point, it's difficult to conclusively tell who is really behind it. But one thing is for sure, it was not a 100% organic student protest that led to this, as is being portrayed. In November 2023, it was reported that the then US ambassador to Bangladesh, Peter Haas, was meeting opposition leaders to discuss plans for organizing anti-government rallies. Russia even officially released a statement stating this. An Awami League party official even threatened the US envoy of dire consequences. Later, Peter Haas quietly left Bangladesh, and the Bangladeshi party official was also disciplined by the party. US also applied its pressure tactic, with the US State Department imposing visa restrictions on Bangladeshi individuals responsible for or complicit in undermining the democratic election process in Bangladesh. Then in January 2024, elections were conducted in Bangladesh. There were reports of Hasina cracking down on opposition parties prior to elections. The main opposition party, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party or BNP, boycotted the elections. Voter turnout in the election was merely 40%, and Hasina and her Awami League came back to power. The US criticized the elections as not free and fair. In May this year, Hasina alleged that a plot was afoot to carve out a Christian state like East Timor, taking territory from Bangladesh and Myanmar. She alleged that a white man from a foreign country offered her a hassle-free re-election if she allowed a foreign country to build an air base in the country. She alleged that a foreign country was asking her to hand over the St. Martin's Island in the Bay of Bengal to build an airbase there to keep an eye on the region. She also said she might be assassinated like her father. The veracity of these claims can't be verified, but her government was facing intense pressure from a certain country. Now with Hasina gone, an interim government has been formed that took oath on 8th August, led by 84-year-old Bangladeshi Nobel laureate Muhammadyunus. A 16-member council of advisors will function as the government for a certain period and oversee the election to transition power to an elected government. But the question is, who really picked Yunus? The question is not about his credentials, but his credibility. The interim government clearly is an eyewash. Then who is really calling the shots? Will there be free and fair elections in Bangladesh in the coming times? There are so many questions, and with these questions, a lot of challenges for India too, as the BNP and Jamaat-e-Islami are now coming back to power, who are not really pro-India. Are the golden years of India-Bangladesh relations over? The last decade has been formative for India-Bangladesh relations. India could not have asked for a more supportive government with Hasina ruling in Bangladesh. India-Bangladesh relations flourished under Modi-Hasina in connectivity, energy, health and other sectors. The trade between both countries grew from 2 billion in 2007 to 14 billion in 2022. India and Bangladesh share a land border which is approximately 4,097 kilometers, the fifth longest in the world. But the border disputes remained unresolved as a historical baggage of partition in 1947. In 2015, India and Bangladesh signed the 2015 Land Border Agreement. It facilitated the transfer of enclaves, locally known as chit mahals, between India and Bangladesh, which were earlier in each other's territory. India-Bangladesh land connectivity greatly improved, with running of multiple new trains and the crucial Akhaura-Agartala cross-border rail link. More importantly, PM Hasina's offer of the use of Chattogram and Mongla seaports greatly improved connectivity to India's northeastern states of Assam and Tripura, bypassing the narrow Siliguri corridor. In the energy sector, the two countries are developing the Maitri thermal power plant in Khulna, Bangladesh, under India's concessional loan of $1.6 billion. The India-Bangladesh Friendship Pipeline was launched in 2023 to reduce the cost of diesel supply to Bangladesh. Also, Hasina has been a great friend to India, with her government's zero-tolerance policy towards insurgent groups operating from Bangladesh. It significantly helped India in managing its volatile northeastern region. But her sudden departure, amidst the resurgence of fundamentalist factions in Bangladesh, such as the Jamaat-e-Islami, poses new security challenges for India. India has been watching the developments as unprecedented violence has been unleashed in Bangladesh. With multiple incidents of political killings taking place and incidents of attacks on religious minorities, especially Hindus, have taken place. Temples, houses, business places are being ransacked as the anarchy is going on. India has issued high alert to the border security forces guarding the India-Bangladesh border, as people trying to escape violence are trying to enter India. It's a big dilemma for India, as persecuted Hindus are looking at India for shelter. What should India do? On one hand, they have nowhere else to go, and on the other hand, it may pose a huge migration crisis and security challenge for India. Government of India has constituted a committee to monitor the Indo-Bangladesh border situation. The situation in Bangladesh is extremely volatile, with virtually no police on the ground and army unable to apply full force to control the fringe elements. On 10th August, protesters forced Bangladesh Chief Justice Obidul Hasan to resign, threatening to storm the Supreme Court and his residence. Several high-ranking officials have also resigned, with virtually no functioning government in Bangladesh. The country has descended into anarchy. Bangladesh stands at a historic crossroads, and as far as India is concerned, the golden chapter of more than a decade-long India-Bangladesh relations might be over for now. But does that mean India is out of the game? I don't think so. Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, Maldives are a few examples, but it's going to be a huge challenge for India to keep its influence in the region, as bigger powers have shifted their focus to India's backyard. I hope you liked the video. Please show some love and support for the channel. Thank you.